Oh. Hello. Hello. How are the music levels? Oh. 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 My stream today feels very like last minute. I was like I haven't worn glasses yet on stream, by the way. I ran out of contacts, so I'm like trying not to have my ring light reflect too much off of them. But hello, hi, hello. I feel frazzled. I feel so frazzled. So I was like, I knew I was gonna stream at 2 p.m. MST today. I'm here on time. I can only stay for an hour and a half today because I have a deadline. I usually on the Tuesdays I like to try and do 2 hours, but I'm gonna have to cut it a little bit short because I do have external responsibilities, unfortunately. But I was like, I was so prepared and ready to stream at 2 today, and I was like doing all my work, working my job. I have this deadline that I'm working on. I was like making good progress, and then I had this like, I don't even know what to call it. I had this graphics issue on my computer with work at 1:30, like half an hour ago, where like my whole screen just like went all like weird and like linear lines and like I couldn't make sense of anything. And I was like, oh no, oh no. And so I lost a bit of work today in my progress in what I was doing, and that's really shitty. But I had already like made the tweets and kind of announced to everybody that I was gonna be here today, and I wanted to like uphold the responsibility to myself too. So I'm here anyways. I'm like in my head a little bit stressed in the background for what I'm gonna be coming back to after my lunch break when I go back to work. Hello, welcome to my stream. If you didn't know, my name's Angora Builds and I model buildings in 3D for a living. I'm an architectural technologist based out of Western Canada, and so I'm not a designer. My role is primarily more like the construction drawings and 3D modeling side of things. I would say I am a professional 3D modeler. I do the coordinating amongst my team and consultants, engineers, things like that for all things 3D. So again, it really sucks when my tech just decides to shit the bed and I'm like dealing with that franticness in the background. And it's such, in a big company, it's such a bogged down process. Like, I used to be with a smaller company that like was a fraction of the people, and it was so nice if there was any IT issues, because then you could just like shoot someone a message on Teams or like instantly get a response. And now I'm with a company that's way bigger, and you have to submit an IT request to someone formally, and the team that I'm like, the team that deals with that is based out of Eastern Canada, and I'm in Western Canada, and it takes a long time to hear back from this stuff. So I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna be coming back to when I'm done my break here, but I should take a break. It's good to walk away from what you're dealing with at least once a day. There's a reason why there's a designated like window of time required that you should not be thinking about work within your 8-hour window of your day. So I was like, I'm kind of stressed about this, but I'll take the break and I'll stream anyways. So I'm here. Hello. If you saw my VOD on Friday, initially when I was talking about what I wanted to do today, we were gonna do just hang out, and I was gonna eat lunch, and we were gonna watch some House Hunters and just like talk about that, react to that. And then also, like, at the same time that my tech issues were happening, I got an email from YouTube as I tried to upload my VOD from 2 Tuesdays ago when I did these garage permit drawings, when I started these garage permit drawings that I'm gonna work on today. When I started them last time, we did them while having House Hunters going. Because, to be honest, permit drawings are not really the most exciting thing in the world. They're just to get building permit approval from our municipality, and it's not super exciting stuff. So I figured it'd be kind of nice to hang out with viewers and also have something going on the side that might be a little bit more enticing to pay attention to. Permit drawings are very technical. I don't really know, like we're looking at like zoning and like building setbacks and like encroachment agreements and kind of dry things like that. But I got a strike from YouTube for trying to upload a VOD with House Hunters content in it, and now I'm like, okay, maybe I'll reassess how what we react to, and like I think maybe we could still do House Hunters on this channel, and I just would intend to never do anything with the VOD, I guess, and it could just disappear into the ether after the week that it expires, and that could be that. I guess it depends on what people are saying and if they're kind of interested and okay with that, but I really like to kill two birds with one stone, and if we're gonna do React content, I really like to have it in my back pocket to double as a YouTube video eventually, and like do like a highlight kind of best of condensed version on my YouTube channel. So I'm rethinking it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to like waste my time or not. So I don't know. I have to think about that one. So I figured today I wanted to react to House Hunters and just hang out and eat lunch, but I think maybe a better use of my time, our time, is to just continue with the garage permit drawings without watching House Hunters. And I'll just try to do my best to be a little bit more entertaining and actually like talk about what I'm doing and make it a little bit more approachable. I think that's the best I can do. Oh my god, can you see how sunburnt I am? We went spring skiing on Saturday. Yeah, we went spring skiing on Saturday, and it was like, it was so hot. It was so hot. It was like plus 20 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it was so hot, and like the snow became so slushy. It was literally like skiing in sand. It was so beautiful. It was so much fun, but I like, my forehead is burnt, my nose is burnt on the tip, and like I put on sunscreen too. I literally, it's just, I guess I didn't reapply it more than like the initial when we first got there and I put it on. But I really underestimated how powerful the UV rays in the winter would be. I actually think they're more powerful in the winter. Now that I think about it, I think because it refracts off of the snow, I think it's more powerful than in the summer. I think. I've heard this with water and beaches too. Apparently, like when you're swimming in like the ocean, you need a higher is it SPF? Yeah, higher SPF because of the this music feels a little loud. Let me know if you feel like my music's a bit too loud and you can't hear me rambling. But yeah, the UV rays refract in the water in the ocean and can also make you burn quicker. So I feel like it's probably the same thing with UV rays off of the snow, but it was super fun. It was so much fun. I loved it. I brought a friend of mine, and it was her second time on skis ever. I've been skiing. I learned how to ski almost 10 years ago now, but I was still like quite a bit older than the average. Like in Western Canada where we're from, it's really common for kids just to learn how to ski or snowboard when they're like in elementary school, like really young. So then by the time they're adults, they just like are so fucking good at it and just rip through everything and don't even think about it. I didn't start till I was much older. I was old enough to have the fear instilled in me and like not be as reckless. So I think that really holds you back. But I brought a friend of mine. It was her second time on skis ever, and we did a run that if I were doing it on my own or like with someone who knows how to ski, we'd probably be top to bottom in less than 10 minutes, and it took us 2.5 hours. It took us 2.5 hours to get from top to bottom, and I think that's why I burnt so bad too, because I was literally just like standing there and cooking. While I waited so patiently for her to kind of maneuver her way down very slowly. And we love to be careful, we love to be safe, we want to make sure that the muscle memory is built up properly. So I wasn't mad about it. I was like, I'm just gonna chill and enjoy the heat and the views. But yeah, everything, like even when I first like got home Saturday night and even like Sunday morning, like it was like an ouchie sunburn. It like hurt to touch. Okay, what do we want to move into first? So I did go to my friend's. Last time I did these permit drawings live on stream, we had to stop because there was some design decisions that I needed figured out from my friends before, like whose garage I'm doing this for. I needed them to tell me a couple things just related to the style of roofing that they wanted, the size of their garage door. There was a couple design decisions that they hadn't made yet that I needed the answer to. There was also some discrepancies between the dimensions that they gave me. They're trying to reuse the like concrete parking pad that goes, like their garage will go on top of. They're trying to reuse that, and so there was some discrepancies between the dimensions that they gave me for what the size of garage that they wanted, and then I got a survey report. They had like a land survey report done on their lot, and they received it when they bought the house. So, and usually the official survey reports are the most accurate. It's what I would be more comfortable trusting, but because of the size discrepancy, I still wanted to go myself and measure the existing pad and the existing garage. Just measure twice, cut once kind of deal. Like I was like, I want to just make sure, super sure that we are doing this proper, so that if they're ordering building materials and their contractor comes in and stuff, I want to make sure that they're actually designing for the right size. I don't want them to be like screwed over, because it's an interesting garage pad. Like usually for garages, you just see like a concrete pour and then they'll just like build directly on like the flat concrete, but I noticed their garage is kind of funny. At the base of the four walls on the perimeter, they actually have like a little concrete lip that goes around the perimeter, and then the walls are built off of that. So that's even more of a requirement to be accurate. So I was like, let's just be extra careful and I'll go and measure it and get some answers to their questions in person. And the other thing, I actually just saw this too before I was reviewing the permit list, the permit requirements before turning on stream. And the other thing that I realized I should have asked them for yesterday is for like the roof, you need to submit the manufacturer of the roof trusses or like the roof system that you're going to install, or you need, what's it called? What did they call it? Like engineered, like an engineer's calculations for custom trusses to make sure that they're going to work. And I didn't ask for that. And like, I know what style of roof they want. It's a hip style. It's a hip style of roof. Here, I'll show you. I'll pull this up. I'm gonna open a new window and I'll share what I mean. Like, usually the typical garage that you would see, usually the type of garage that you would see, or like the type of roof that you would see on a garage in people's backyards, if it's a detached garage, is a here, can I blow this up? We'll go big. Usually it's a gable roof. And this roof is really easy because you literally just need like one single type of truss and it just like carries the whole way down. But they want to do a hip roof. And that's fine. I have no qualms with that. I actually think aesthetically, I think it actually looks nice. I think it looks nice. The gable roof is nice maybe if you wanted to do like a higher garage door or something, or like utilize space in the rafters. A hip roof is a little bit more complicated, and I don't have a residential background. My area of expertise, my work background is commercial offices and commercial retail and stuff. And all of the architecture that we do, or that I've done, because of that, is flat roofs. So roofs are kind of a new thing. Like, I understand them logically, theoretically, And I understand how to convey them in drawings and stuff, I would say, but I don't understand. I don't understand, I guess, like how the construction process works. Like, does their contractor pick a truss manufacturer, or do we have to find like a garage kit or something? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. So I'm gonna hum and haw over it a little bit, but I was thinking what I could do at this point today is at least just update what we 3D modeled last time I did this and make it more accurate as per the measurements that I pulled yesterday. I also got the height, and the height was the big one that I really wanted. Because they have like power lines that go over their, or like right in front of their garage and stuff, and I think there's a certain amount of clearance that you need to be cognizant of for like, it's power lines, but it's also like data or like telecom lines too. So yeah, I think we might update that quick today. I'd like to get to it. I really have to hard stop though, like I've been talking for 20 minutes now. In an hour and 15, I'll have to hard stop today. But I also really want to eat my lunch. So maybe what we do before I get into actually updating these drawings, I'm gonna just see quick if I have anything in my watch list. Like if we wanted to just like watch a video or a tour or something before we get going today. Hold on, I'm looking for my watch later list. And also if anybody has any like preferences or recommended ideas for videos for me to watch at some point eventually, I would love that too. Ooh, actually, here's a good one. Architectural. Okay, I've actually been wanting to watch this. This is a good light one. It's 15 minutes. Architect breaks down. Here, I'm gonna wait. I'll share my screen. Architect breaks down 5 TV houses from Mad Men, That 70s Show, and more. Architectural Digest. 3 years ago. It's a while ago. I'm a little paranoid that I kind of got copyright struck on House Hunters. I'm like, oh, they got mad. I mean, that's actually a television network, like a major television network. So I'd imagine it makes sense that they have all those copyright things in place already. I'm like, damn, that's a fun one to react to as well. But I think like Architectural Digest so far seems to have been pretty safe. But let's hang out and watch this while I eat my lunch really quick. Let me know, I guess, if the volume's okay, please, por favor. It's like the one thing I continue to struggle with when I'm live is audio stuff. But we'll kick this up in size. We'll go to theater mode. We'll stretch it out. I hope you guys are having a good Tuesday. My deadline that I have was supposed to be done yesterday, and then it got pushed. And sometimes it's nice when things get pushed because then you're like, oh, I needed the time, this is so great. But then you don't get to de-stress yet. It pushes back your like sense of relief further away. I'm like, oh, I was hoping that when I streamed today I didn't have a deadline, but I do. So okay, let's I guess send it, and I'll eat my lunch at the same time.
I've been an architect for 33 years. Today we're going to see what some of our favorite TV shows can teach us about suburban architecture and design. Don Draper's home in Mad Men. The Draper house is a great place to start. It represents some of the earliest suburbs, which were called bedroom communities. There was no other industry in those towns. People only lived there and they worked someplace else.
Mr. Romano, Mr. Kinsey, and Mr. Crane are here for your meeting.
So this house was most likely built in the early 20th century, 1910s or the 1920s, when the railroads, came out to outside New York to the suburbs. Right off the bat, it's a two-story colonial house. It's got the classic central entrance, the red door, side lights, and this portico that gives it a lot of heft. 6/6 double-hung windows, the shutters, which appear to be fake. The roof is asphalt shingles, but it's trying to imitate a slate roof or a wood shingle roof, which is what the house would have been made out of. For Don Draper, it's the perfect embodiment of the American dream, which is what his character is all about. Another thing that sort of jumps out at me is that they have balloons. I grew up in the early 60s. I never recall anyone putting balloons outside their house. For a birthday party, everybody knew where the house was and just arrived. But I think this is more a motif from the 2000s rather than the early 1960s.
It's got a red door like ours! Daddy!
So it's got the traditional red door, which has a variety of meanings through history, biblical and religious meanings in terms of lamb's blood over the door means the blood of Christ on some churches. In colonial times, a house with a red door meant it's a welcoming and safe place. These are called 6/6.
I'm pretty sure a red door is also auspicious in feng shui. I learned of it as a feng shui concept, that it was good luck, it was welcoming in like abundance and material and financial success and good health and things like that. I wonder, correct me if I'm wrong, but
6 because there are 6 small panes on the upper sash and there are 6 small panes on the lower sash. And in colonial times, glass was very expensive and they didn't really have the technology to make large panes of glass, so they made these small, very thin panes of glass and they just combined them. In modern days, what people do, they take one big pane of glass and they just apply this fake grid on top of the glass. It's not an actually divided light as they were in colonial times. So let's take a look at the interior. This is a view of the Draper kitchen. So starting in the 1940s, there was this classic work triangle in the kitchen, comprised of the sink, the stove, and the refrigerator. And you could see from there, there's this triangle. So
have you guys heard me rant about this all the time? I bring it up all the time.
one would go from the refrigerator, bring it to the sink, go to the stove, and cook. You could see Betty here at the counter doing just that. So all three she can move between at this sort of optimal distance, not too far, not too close. And most suburban kitchens were laid out that way. What jumps out at me is there's a bigger window than you see on the front facade. There's 4 panes across as opposed to 3. You could see the knotty pine cabinets. You could see the Formica countertop with the metal edge, which was the technology at the time. In about 10 to 15 years, they would make Formica or plastic laminate, which is its generic name, where they would do the sides as well out of plastic laminate. But Formica was new, it was...
I've been pronouncing it Formica forever. Is that, I wonder if it's like a Canadian versus American,
future, it was plastic, and plastic, after World War II was
difference
amazing new
between
material.
language or something.
People embraced it.
Or I'm just
To
wrong.
your places.
So typically a colonial house, if you had the means to afford to build a colonial house, you also had the means to have servants. So you rarely saw the inside of the kitchen. All your meals were served in a formal dining room on the ground floor. This is a different era. It's post-World War II, and the kitchen became the hub for the family to gather, and eating kitchens became sort of the central meeting place for the house. The Brady Bunch house. The cool thing about the Brady Bunch is that Mike Brady, the head of the household, is an architect, and that's reflected on the exterior of the house as well as on the interior.
Oh.
So the idea that the stone is growing out of the earth is very much, Frank Lloyd Wright's idea of the prairie style. It's this transition of the earth into sort of the man-made and architecture. So Frank Lloyd Wright was the most famous American architect. I mean, he was a genuine genius. That word is thrown around a lot, but he was the real thing. He was self-educated. He saw the birth of modernism and the birth of the suburbs, and his architecture, particularly in America, was extremely influential in suburban architecture particularly. These roof rafters being exposed.
It was
goes
the
back
first
to
architect I
arts
ever
and
learned
crafts
about in
style,
school.
And both the arts and crafts movement and Frank Lloyd Wright were very influenced by Japanese design. The board and batten is very Japanese design, siding over here, and this sort of planting, which is indigenous plants, or appears to be indigenous plants from California. I always found it interesting, this window right here on the outside. I always thought it was a little small for the size of the wall, and
Yes,
I
it
found
does
out
feel
later
small.
that window doesn't actually exist, that it was intended to make the house look more like a regular split-level house.
Wait, what?
Skin your
Why?
face with envy with Olay Hyaluronic.
It's weird too because I'd have to know, or I'd be curious to know if because I think a lot of times when they filmed television shows like this, they would have the exterior image that they would use to establish context, but then the interior would all be filmed in a studio. And sometimes, like, I would have to imagine that the exterior context image may not have lined up with what we were able to see, what we could see, or what was designed in the studio. Like, windows not being in the same place, or like even in the same style, kind of like he pointed out with Mad Men.
The ground is a person standing on the ground, and then you'd have one floor directly above the other. Bedrooms would be up here, this would be the attic, and then your main level would be here with your living room and dining room and kitchen, and that's a typical two-story house. A split level, they do it a little different. You enter the house a half a level up, and that would be your main level, and then the bedrooms are another half level up. Beneath those bedrooms, a half level down, is the den and the garage. And if there was a basement, the basement would be under here, just like the basement would be under here, the roof and the attic, and then this roof would come in this way. So you could see underneath here, one roof line, the gable is facing the street, and the other way, the gable is facing the side. The same idea that this is one story and this is two stories. Okay, so let's go inside. The main motif of the interior of the house is this sunken living room. Goes back to the Japanese and the sunken dining area, which is supposed to bring the entire family together. The table, when not in use, flipped over and actually became the floor. And then when it was in use, it was lifted up and you could actually sit in this sort of depressed area. And this entire TV show was about that, bringing two families together, the mother and her three daughters and the father and his three sons. So the staircase played a really prominent role in the Brady Bunch. Everyone lines up on the stair at the beginning of it.
This was a split level house? That staircase looks so tall. That looks like the same height of staircase that I have seen in regular two-story houses. Usually split levels, the staircases are half, unless I guess the ceiling height is really large.
Played a really prominent role in the Brady Bunch. Everyone lines up on the stair at the beginning of it. It's an open riser stair, directly derived from Falling Water, you know, the famous Frank Lloyd Wright house. There's a tread that people step on, and then there's a riser, the vertical piece that connects it to the next tread. And this stair doesn't have the riser, which makes it really light and open and very modern. We've got this exposed stone wall, so it's sort of bringing some of the outside in. There's this polished brick floor, which is also that idea of organic architecture. There's the exposed structure of the wood beyond with the infill of the plasterboard. And then there's this sort of Mondrian-like illuminated glass, which refers back to Frank Lloyd Wright and his idea of art class. And then that's repeated in sort of these wood panels, which is a really funny idiosyncratic move, but kind of works really nicely in the Brady house. Let's take a look at the kitchen. This is like a perfect update to like the Draper kitchen. You know, it's 10 years later. So they still have that Formica or plastic laminate countertop, but now the edge is also plastic laminate, where in the Draper kitchen it was metal that was riveted on. They have the same in-counter stove. They have the same wall oven. Just everything's been updated. They have all their new appliances.
And are those elements that were more
countertop.
reserved for high-end?
The cabinets now are this more
homes,
sort of slick and modern wood. No longer that knotty pine. And even the furniture, you know, the tabletop matches the counter, and they've got these sort of avocado green Saarinen-like chairs, but they're knockoffs. You could see by the cruciform base, he didn't have a chair like that. Just like your table is over there. And I think they were knockoffs because, like that window on the front of the house, they wanted Mike Brady to be sort of high design, but they didn't want him to be too high. And I think those chairs being knockoffs are much more relatable and accessible to the general public. And I think that was a conscious move on their part.
I miss the basement.
The Foreman house on That 70s Show. This is the house that was watching the Brady Bunch. I'm realizing that this is siding, exterior siding, like clapboard siding that we saw on like the Draper house. So it looks like they actually expanded their kitchen. That's like a move you wouldn't see too often, you know, other than like Frank Gehry
catch. I never noticed that.
In Santa Monica in like 1978 or 9, where he like completely took a typical arts and crafts house and totally redid it using common building and industrial materials like chain link fence and exposed wood studs, and even put blacktop down on his kitchen floor because that's where the driveway had been. But in this case, I don't think they were going for that. But yet, at the same time, the people who made this TV show made a conscious decision to keep that exterior, and I think it just says We prospered a little, then we expanded our kitchen, but most of the action on that 70s show takes place in this basement.
In fact, you can kiss whatever you want. Start with your own butt.
You could see the concrete block foundation wall in the distance and the window that's up high because it's just, reaching above ground. And you see the hot water heater and you see the washer dryer with the exposed pipes leading from it. It's even up on skids like a real washer dryer would be, and it's got the wooden stair. It's pretty authentic, other than the fact that the ceiling is way too high. Typically, the ceilings in suburban basements were much lower, like less than 8 feet. They'd have this steel pipe column.
Our home from the 50s have a 7-foot high basement.
Would support typically a steel beam, and that beam would hold the wooden joists that basically hold up the whole house. So you'd find that in the basement too. I don't see that in evidence here, but that was always part of a suburban basement as well. But then there was a whole trend in the suburbs in the 70s to finish their basements. People would put down carpeting, they'd put paneling on the walls, a false hung ceiling. The only problem was it had very little light because the windows are tiny and they're up high, and they always smelled sort of musty and moldy because it's a raw room. Basements let the moisture in and then they let the moisture out. They're sitting in the earth, and that's just a natural phenomenon of basements. And people would even put in bars and a bathroom down there, even though you had to pump the water up to get out into the sewer system. So in this case, on that 70s show, it's an unfinished basement. It's the perfect place to go downstairs and smoke pot and cigarettes and drink beer and have their own private world. I mean, it worked sort of perfectly.
Eric! Yeah, Dad?
The town of Agrestick in Weeds. The opening sequence really hits home the idea of conformity, everything being the same, so all the cars are the same, all the houses are the same, all the people are the same. It's all about keeping up with the Joneses in a way. It's the sort of dark side of the suburbs, and that's the whole impetus for the show. So this really reminds me of the mass-produced houses that were built in Levittown after World War II in the suburbs of New York. These communities were completely dependent on the car, but at the same time they were also influenced by the car in the way that they were constructed. Just like Henry Ford built his Model Ts on an assembly line, these houses were built in that same fashion. So they would build one house in its entirety from the beginning and figure out where all the problems might be, and then one person would just do foundations, one person would install the windows. I think at their height they were producing a house every 16 minutes, which is just completely insane.
That's insane.
But the idea was that these houses were extremely affordable, just like the Model T was intended to be. On the flip side, though, they were completely segregated, they were all about conformity, and they're extremely bad for the environment.
We actually went into this in a bit more detail from my stream on Friday, where we talked about the negative impacts of suburbs. If you're curious, take a look back at that VOD. I will also probably be posting a highlight video specifically about that topic too. So
there's a lot of trade-offs there. These type of developments are the worst of both worlds, this sort of suburban sprawl, as it's called, because they eliminate the woods and the forest and the natural world, and at the same time they get no benefit from the density that you would find in an urban environment where people live in an apartment and share resources and use mass transit.
Pod's biggest sale of the year is now extended.
So yeah, it seems from this video we are working forwards in time. Is that correct? That is how it feels to me.
This is an exterior of Nancy's house. This appears to be a Spanish-style revival house, but in fact it's sort of a McMansion version of it. And by that I mean, it's stucco, but it's not built on a
We also talked about McMansions
built on a metal stud
last Friday.
And the roof tiles are vinyl, they're not clay. The garage overpowers the facade. There's only one shutter on some of the windows, which is just an odd motif. As an architect, you notice right away when the shutters are fake or if they're actually functional. The arched windows, in fact, aren't arched, and brick naturally makes an arch. I could actually draw that. The famous architect Louis Kahn used to ask, what does a brick want to be? And the brick would always respond, I want to be an arch. Bricks are stacked, right? And they're stacked like this. And to make an opening in brick, all these bricks would just fall through unless you had a piece of steel or a piece of wood to hold it in place. So in a traditional Spanish home, this is how they would have made openings, because everything was built out of brick, and wood was scarce, and steel didn't exist. So you would never see this arch, because then what they would do is they'd come back and they would put stucco all over it. But in this sort of house, there's no necessity for an arch. It's just completely a stylistic motif. And these are all the sorts of things that point to it being a McMansion, where it's all about size and excess.
I would actually love a whole video where he breaks down
Jay and Gloria's
where
house, Modern
McMansions
Family.
fall short in
It's
their
a modernist
authentic
home
architectural
in
design.
LA. It sort of has its roots in this sort of simple Bauhaus style architecture that's in LA. These windows on the left, they have these sunshades on them. You want to shield the hot southern sun so that the heat doesn't get in during the day. That's all part of a passive solar sort of idea. So this is the rear of Jay and Gloria's house.
Ay, Dios mío, your time was too short. I'm on the roof. Ah.
It has moments where it manages the climate and shields the hot sun, but it doesn't do it consistently. So, you know, you have a window in the height of summer, you don't want all that heat to get in. It's called solar heat gain. So what you do is you put a sunshade on the window, and all of a sudden that blocks the sunlight. It can't get through anymore, right? It bounces off. The other idea is that in the winter, you want the sun to come in and warm the house. And quite often, frankly,
Now we're
like
learning
an example,
about
people would
passive
use
green
masonry
building
inside,
strategies.
You know, brick on the floor, on the wall, and that would absorb the solar heat gain and
I love
then
passive green
radiate it
building
slowly,
strategies.
which
They're
is
my
what
favorite.
masonry naturally does, and helps
It's
to
like
warm that.
green building strategies that don't utilize active technologies like solar or like occupational sensors or anything like that. It's just like it's utilizing the existing environment around you and using really passive, low-cost strategies in order to make your building more environmentally efficient.
House. It's just
And
good
sustainable.
architectural principles of design. So it's sort of cool modernism, but at the same time, it's really warmed up by its use of wood. And the wood appears to be an exotic hardwood like teak or ipe. And the thing about ipe particularly is that it's impervious to water. It's super dense and really heavy. And it lasts forever because of that. And in fact, the New York City Parks Department uses it on their benches. What I find interesting, and it ties back to Mike Brady's house on the Brady Bunch, is that they also have a reference to Mondrian with this glass motif, which is also a reference to Frank Lloyd Wright. That sort of ties up nicely. The thing I find interesting about this house is that Jay is the least likely guy you would think would have this house. You know, Jay represents sort of the old-fashioned, traditional male role model.
I don't know how I got stuck.
He's the patriarch of the family, and in a way, he's very sort of conservative, yet he has this super modern house. And I think a lot of the show is about Jay evolving, and this house helps him to do that. So the spaces we looked at today say a lot about the characters that inhabit them, which is true for all of us and the spaces we live in and the way that we live in them. And so the evolution of suburban architecture really reflects the evolution of the American dream and what that means to people over time.
Whoa, cool. I thought for Modern Family, and correct me if I'm wrong, I always under the impression that Gloria was the one that made the call for that house purchase and Jay was doing it to appease her. But I don't remember. It's been years since I've watched that series. But yeah, that was a really cool like evolution of the suburban house as depicted in television media. Interesting. I love Architectural Digest. We could just spend like a whole day watching Architectural Digest videos, but don't have time for that, unfortunately. We do have to get to working on this garage permit set. Let me turn my music back on. And again, this is not, I mean, maybe you'll find this riveting. This is, in my opinion, just like pretty basic technologist one-on-one kind of work. Doesn't really require a ton of effort and brain power, to be honest, in my opinion. But this is where we got to last time. And so this, what we're looking at right now is we're looking at a bird's eye view of their site plan. It's a very long lot that they have with their existing house is this gray box here. They have a front addition, which is like, I guess like a sunroom. It's enclosed. I don't know if addition's the right word. Maybe I can probably change this to sunroom. That might be a little bit more accurate. I don't want to create any confusion when we're applying for permits as well. And like, oh, are they adding an addition and they're trying to apply for a permit for that? I'd like to note that it's, let's maybe note that it's existing. Because if you give them any reason to question what you have coming in, they will be sure as heck to take you up and inquire further. Actually, the reason why this is all sideways, so I'll show you last time, we did set up some sheets, and this is what we will be issuing to the city when we apply, is all of these sheets together. And I think there might even be a fourth one that we'll do here. We have a construction plan sheet, we have our site plan sheet, and then we have our elevations sheet. I think there might be the potential for us to add a fourth sheet, potentially. I know that, I know here on the construction plan, we're gonna also be noting, and this is very basic stuff. This is like, oh, and yeah, this is 4 walls with plywood sheathing and some siding. Very, very simple. But there's a few things they want. They want information about where we're putting the outlets. They will also be heating this garage, so I think I have to depict where the, I don't know if it's, I think it's just like a gas heater, where that's going. Oh, I'm so sorry if that was loud. So outlets, gas, this kind of stuff is less in my wheelhouse in my line of work. Electrical and like heating, like mechanical elements like that is done by the electrical or mechanical engineer. However, and I have more familiarity with electrical systems because there is in some cases, Ontario actually for some reason, we often have to do like power and communications like plans with our construction documents. So I know how to depict the electrical stuff, but I don't really know how they're gonna want me to depict the mechanical stuff, and that might end up requiring them to hire someone more familiar with that than I, but I can do my best and like add a keynote. But there's some things that we have left. We'll need to do like a little legend on the side where we communicate what all of the symbols mean. We'll probably want to do like a schedule for like the assembly of the walls as well as the door types that they'll be putting in. I didn't ask, I should have asked if they were going to salvage or reuse the existing garage door that they have now, but I'm going to guess no, because their garage is very old. It's literally like, it's bowing in the middle at the roof. Like the whole thing is probably gonna collapse in the next 2 years if they weren't gonna do anything with it. So I'm glad that they're rebuilding it this summer. Very warranted. Let me start off by updating the plans that we have here. And so, can I do this in color? Will that be helpful? See, and you can't even like, I didn't even actually spend time modeling the house or anything. You literally just see the garage. It's so cute though, isn't it? It's like a little cute dollhouse or something. It's very basic, even like the door and stuff. But so last time we modeled, we did do a gable style of roof here, but because I know that they want to do a hip style now, I can just reset this like wall profile and the top will be flat. Let's go into our roof plan. Did I even set one up? I guess we can do it here. Yeah, it was here. We'll just make sure we edit this in to be a hip style. And I'm not sure, maybe we need to actually, maybe I need to learn about hip roofs and how those are typically constructed, because I'm not sure if it'll all be the same angle or if we'll do these front ones at a little bit of a lesser angle so that we can utilize like the reason why their garage is bowing in the first place down the middle is because they have this existing hip roof style right now, and it's all supported by one truss, just one. And it's nowhere near good enough. So I'm gonna maybe, okay, let's change the walls first. I need to pull up my my iPad. I'm not going to share it on my screen. Usually I will share my iPad when I'm streaming and I'll show you what I'm working off of. It's just, I don't want to dox anyone, their addresses involved and included in the documents that I'm working in and stuff, so I want to make sure that I'm respecting their privacy as well. But we'll update the size of these quick construction plans. So let me... Okay, first things first before I even get started, because this is all new construction. Last time I made the choice in this wall type here to move forward with a 2x6 inch stud, and they're not going to be doing that. They're going to do 2x4s, which is fine. They can decide to do that. But what's the actual size of a 2x4 is, I think it's like 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 inches, so it's 90 millimeters. I measured theirs just because I was curious, and I think their garage was built, the original one, in the 60s or something. Like, it's that old. And their 2x4s that they had along the perimeter were actually 95 millimeters, not 90 millimeters. And we noticed this when we demoed our basement actually too. So we bought our house, my partner and I bought the house that we live in the early 2021. And the first thing we did when we bought the house was completely strip and redo the whole basement. And our house is early 50s sometime. I don't remember the exact year of construction, the early 1950s. And the basement, we speculate, was probably done in the 60s, late 60s or 70s sometime. But when we demoed the basement, we salvaged all of the wood for the construction of our camper van that we're working on. If you check out my YouTube, I have a whole bunch of videos going through that design series that we did on this channel. But we salvaged all of the wood. We got a bunch of many 2x4s and a ton of plywood because the floor was raised about 5 inches off the ground, I think for heat or something, but it made the ceiling height really small because it's only about 7 feet. And so we salvaged all the 2x4s and the plywood, and those 2x4s are dense. They are so heavy. It's like one of those 2x4s from that era is like twice the weight of a 2x4 that you would buy at like Home Depot today. It's actually insane. Like even to the point where I kind of reconsidered briefly if we even wanted to use them for our van build, because the whole point of using the wood was to not have to buy new products and like recycle. But it was so heavy that I was like, is this gonna impact how heavy our van is? Like, is it? Because like, if we could just go buy new 2x4s where I know they're like half the weight. But we did opt to use it in the end because they are so thick and durable that I think they are going to be way more sturdy for longer than any of the wood that we buy from the store today. It's actually insane. So I also noticed too that they were weird sizes. Like, we got 2x4s from this demo, but they were all kind of not exactly the same, like 2x4 size. So I wonder if there was even some differences in manufacturing and what they did back in the mid-century or like 60s and 70s for their nominal lumber and how it was cut and stuff like that, or I don't know. But nowadays it's very, very predictable. You know that a 2x4, even though it's not actually a 2 inches by 4 inches, it is about 1.5 by 3.5 inches. And but you know that what you buy from the store will be this size, so it's predictable. It's predictable. So we're gonna change this to be thinner, and it'll be, if we're going thinner like this, then we definitely have to do, oh, did it change my size? And so that means, yeah, this will be 4 inches thick. Okay. Fly. Yeah, there we go. So it bumped our walls thinner now. And you'll see here too, I have a concrete pad that's modeled at the base. And we want to make sure that the edge of the walls line up with the concrete. But because now that I've seen, now that I've been to their backyard and I've seen that the concrete pad has this weird lip on it, we need to definitely take that into account. So let's adjust this as per, I'm gonna do this in the site plan actually, so I make sure I get it in the right spot too, because there is considerations for where it sits and how far it is from either side, because this side here encroaches into the neighbor's yard. So they have an encroachment agreement where the neighbor basically says, yep, I'm cool with their garage overhanging into my yard, I'm not going to sue them. But we just can't encroach more. We can encroach less, we just can't encroach more. So I'm doing this in millimeters because I trust millimeter measurements more than... See, look at how much wider that is. Did you see how much that bumped out? That's actually crazy. That's like, hold on, let's measure this difference. That's 10 inches. That's crazy. This is why I'm glad I went. Wow. Super different. Holy. Okay. And we'll do the back. So this one is 7.3 meters. Also quite a bit different. Not as drastic as the side. This is crazy. I wonder, because that's not even close to, I did this based off of the survey report. Usually survey reports are supposed to be more accurate, but interesting. Well, now we'll just align everything. Insane. Okay. All right. And the other thing I just want to make sure I check though is, I think because the survey report that I received was so off, it's gonna be difficult to say, if the setbacks are right then. Like how far this garage door will be from this line depicts where their property line ends and the public street behind here begins. Oh, we'll have to these are like small things that I actually kind of get pretty stressed about because they can hold permit processes up if there's any discrepancies and stuff. Okay. Need property report again. Okay. What I'm gonna do to make myself feel better, I didn't do this last time, I was nervous. I'm going to underlay their property report over the site plan really quick and just make sure I have my things aligned first before we keep going forward. It makes me nervous. One moment. Okay, I'm gonna switch to just chatting for a sec. We're gonna jump out here. Actually, I can probably jump out of just chatting in a sec anyways. I still don't know what categories to put myself in. Like, if anybody has any recommendations or inputs, I'm like, is this, like, do I sit in the art category? Is that, or, I mean, maybe makers and crafting, perhaps? Oh, I updated this to the wrong drive. Hold on. This one. God bless cloud technology. I can't get over how fast things are now. Hold on. I'm just downloading this. Let me save, move. Where's my download? Print. I'll try that. Yeah, this should be fine. And download. Oh, there's my download button. Okay. Yeah, so I do have their civic address on this, unfortunately. So just bear with me, I guess, while I underlay this quick without showing anyone. I will save this to a place. We'll save here. And I can directly underlay. Oh, I have a warning already. Okay. I can directly underlay PDFs in my 3D models and then use them to trace over. The cool thing about Revit is that it's actually pretty smart, and you can, for some PDF documents, if it's a vector PDF, you can snap to the extents, like it'll recognize what a line is if it's a vector, and you can trace over it and stuff. It's sick. It makes our job, like my job, so much faster too. Like, I remember there used to be a time where if we did as-builts or like existing dimensions of a space, I used to have to go in by hand with a laser measurer, and it would take, like if it was one office floor, sometimes it would take 2 days. And then I would have to go into like AutoCAD, which isn't even 3D modeling, it's like 2D drafting from a bird's eye view looking down, and draw individual lines and like create the whole thing from scratch. Now it's so much faster. Just send me a PDF and I can just literally like use the lines and select lines and create walls instantaneously. It's so neat. I feel like we're gonna reach a point where we can just have, well, be able to have AI just like feed in 3D, or sorry, 2D plans. Oh, I did this the wrong way. Yeah, feed 2D plans into some kind of AI interface, and then it will... Oh yeah, this is snapping to my lines. Sick. Let me find the corner. Oh wait, it's only snapping to some lines. Okay. And... foreground? And... Hold. Shouldn't take much longer. I almost have it traced. I'm just making sure it's close. The biggest thing I'm just trying to check is the overhang of the roof. I want to make sure it's... Because they have an encroachment agreement, I want to make sure that I am as accurate as possible with the roof overhang. I don't want to accidentally like screw anyone over if I have the wrong dimensions. It's important. So, fix that really quick. Oop. And see, this is, yeah, from what I see in their site report too, this is way off. Hold on, I'm just gonna move this over to the side. I'll show you what I'm doing in a minute. I'll pop back in a sec. I'm just like trying to get an accurate measurement of how far the garage is. Actually, it looks like it's a 10-foot setback. Okay. Actually, I might be able to keep this land report living in the Revit model, but I'm throwing it way over in the side so you guys can't see it, and then if I need to jump back in, I have it scaled, and so it's fine already. But it looks like, based off of the survey report, measuring at an accurate scale, that this is set 10 feet back. So this is too far. So I'll have to move this. 8. And, oh, I guess it'd be 8.75 inches. There we go. There's a really loud sound outside. 1 minute, I'm gonna go investigate. I don't know what that is. It's kind of concerning. Hold on. They're watering trees. They're watering trees in our neighborhood. They have the big like municipal watering truck is must be watering the city trees or something. So that's cool. I'm a little worried actually about how our summer is going to be this year. I have a feeling that it's going to be very dry. And I know that for the last, hold on, I'm measuring this again. I know for the last few years in North America, especially kind of in the, like, on the west side, we've had really bad forest fires. So I'm getting a bit nervous about what our fire season might be like. This is actually almost exactly 10 feet, so that's kind of cool. And then garage wall from the perimeter, it's like 2 feet, 2'4". It's like 0.69. Okay. All right, here we go. Back we go. Okay. And so I think I just have to make sure that this overhang is accurate. It looks like the overhang. So the eaves are 0.41 on all sides of the garage. Yeah, so this is really annoying too. I've told this a few times now, but I'm from Western Canada, and where I am, we use the metric system in our construction drawings, but the imperial system for all of the trades and stuff. So even this survey report that I'm referencing right now is 0.41E. So okay, so this extends 0.54 in the end with the eaves troughs. I'm just gonna add that a little bit because yeah, eaves troughs do add a bit. But this angles. But yeah, I jump between the metric and the imperial system pretty frequently, and the survey report that I have is in the metric system, but I'm gonna draw these permit drawings in the imperial system because I believe that they are going to pass off the drawings that I give them to their contractor. So I want to make sure that it's accurate for him too. And he will probably be pleased that I've done these drawings in that way. This makes sense to me now that I see, okay, do you see, I'm updating the overhang of the roof that exists. And this overhang on this side pretty much lines up exactly with the property line. So this tells me that initially a long time ago when they built this garage, this might have been an intentional choice. And that's why they set this. And then they only had to ask for encroachment from one of their neighbors rather than from both of them. If you centered the garage on this property here, it would have had to be both sides encroachment agreement. So that makes sense now that I see it. Okay, let's jump back to our construction plan because I think that we updated this. I'm going to just throw down some quick dimensions. Actually, maybe I should do this on the sheet so I can see. Here, I want to make sure that I'm not like taking these dimensions and overlapping them. What I'm gonna do really quick too, I'm gonna just like hide the element, hide the grass, so we literally just see the plan, which is kind of nice. And then this guy here, we'll do a measurement from how far it is from the wall. I did an actual measurement too. We'll keep it the same. It actually ended up being, instead of 1'2", it was closer to, it was 581 millimeters. Oops. So I'll fix that. I do already have to go in 10 minutes. That's crazy. Yeah, it is like, it's like they intended for it to, oh, actually it was from here. that it was, hold on, let me get this right. There we go. And now I'll move this back to the same spot. This is kind of weird. I feel like this is one of those things the contractor's gonna look at it and he's gonna be like, why don't you just make it a round number? So I'll do that. 1'9". Okay. I didn't measure the width of their door because they're probably going to add one, but I did say last time I picked a 3-foot wide door just because they will be using this as a workshop. And 3-foot wide is what is standard in commercial, but I think in residential it's often a little bit smaller. So we'll do the wide one though because it is a garage and they'll be going in and out with like heavy things, carrying things. And then I think they told me that this door here is actually going to be 20 feet wide. But we want to make sure that it's equal. There. So we'll do that. I'm gonna move this now. It's not quite on the wall. Let me move that down too. Or maybe we do this. Maybe that's nicer. Do I have a legend started? Let me see exactly what they'll want to see. Oh, actually, let's make sure the height's right first, though, on our elevation. So if we go to our north elevation, so I know that the height from the top of the slab or grade to the top, well, this is the underside of their roof, was here. So it's actually quite a bit shorter. So it was 8-foot tall walls around the perimeter, and then the actual hip roof itself was smaller. There. This feels a little bit better to me. Let me just make sure I attach this to the roof so that we don't get this gap that we saw here. Oh, and they also added siding on. Let's add that to the wall type quick, and I know it's gonna be blue. So if I go to here and I edit the structure, there's the core boundary of the wall, but then I can insert a like exterior side layer that will like extrude beyond. And let's say there's siding, especially with everything included, might be something like that, 1.25 inches. Going to, I don't know, like, yeah, I might not have to get this granular, but I'm doing it. I have to leave in like 7 minutes though, so we literally might just get these plan updates done. And that's it. Construction _ exterior siding. I'll even update the appearance of it and we can pick a siding so that it looks accurate. Let's see what happens if I just search siding, if we'll get something in my library. Yeah, here we go. Clapboards. So because this one has a little exclamation mark at the bottom on the left here for this material asset, I guess. This is from an older version of Revit where the materials were handled a bit differently in rendering, so I need to find one that doesn't have it, hence why I have to use this one, unfortunately. But I think I can tint this one. Did it update? Yeah. I can probably scale the size of it up. Sample size. Yeah, I can maybe scale this so that it's not so... Like if I do it at like 3 inches so that the boards feel bigger. Wait, would that make the boards bigger or the boards smaller? I think it makes them bigger, right? But I can change the color here, and I know they're gonna do like a nice blue. This might be too blue. Could we... Pantone? I can steal a color from one of these samples if we just pick a random blue siding that we like. I think it's probably gonna be something like this, where it's like, it's a blue, but it's kind of a muted blue. There. I'll just grab this color. What is the RGB? 81, 98, 115. 98. 115. There we go. It's more muted. There. Perfect. Okay. Apply. Funny! What happened with the realistic? It's gonna load on me now. It's gonna be mad. There. I still think that the boards are too big. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, though, if we need to adjust them for any reason. I might, what I will do, let's go to the elevations. I'm gonna take this material that I just made and I'm gonna apply a texture to it so that we get the horizontal sides. Like the horizontal, we'll do this. And then we'll add a color. Horizontal. We'll see how big this is. There. There, see? Now you see it on all the sides. This is their siding. I could probably even do that to the roof actually too and add a material to that as well. I like adding these textures because although it's like, it's not necessary to do this, but I do find that it helps with understanding what is happening. I think it communicates the design intent and allows for a better understanding of the variation in the materials that you're using. But I don't know if I have a good one I can use as shingles. Something like this maybe? Like it like a brick texture, but like this? Yeah. Yeah, that works. Okay. I don't know. Oh, we didn't. We edited the overhang on the on the site view, but we didn't actually edit the overlay where it depicts in here. It's supposed to be. Okay, so sorry, what was it? 581 all across the board. And then after I'm done this, we've updated all of the 3D model stuff. And then I have to go back to work to get back to my deadline. What if I just started making these like casually short lunchtime streams more of a regular thing? It's hard though, because you can't really get like a ton done. I wonder if I can change the thickness of what this is. Garage elevations. How thick is this? This looks kind of extra. This is like, yeah, this is 6 inches, and I know, hold on, let me change. I can maybe, oh, it's because we did the roof with 2x6s as well. So if we change that, there, that'll make it smaller. Much better. Okay, that's more accurate. Cool. Here it is. It's a garage. Very exciting. I hope you're all wowed. It's riveting, incredible. Here we go. We got our 20-foot wide door. This is it, pretty much. I even asked if they wanted windows and they were like, nah, that's okay. It's just a garage. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. All of my elevations will look the same. These two are identical. We might only need one. I can call it north and south. North and south. The only variation is west and east. We can combine these, I think. So easy peasy. That's it, that's all. I'm just going to save this. Let me just, I guess, align this there. So I'm gonna save this. That's it. I have to go. I have a deadline. It's crazy in my life right now. But I'll be live again on Friday. Friday is gonna be the big one. I'm so excited for that because we are starting the schematic design for our tiny house. We're gonna do some floor plan sketching and stuff, watch some tiny house tours. I'm really excited. I have to structure it out. I'm gonna try and get an itinerary going and a game plan so that we actually like progress pretty good. I don't know if we'll come out of it with like 3D modeled floor plans, but I think I'd like to at least come out of it with like maybe 2 or 3 floor plans that we want to 3D model. And then maybe next Tuesday I can 3D model them on my lunch break. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. But I have to go back to work. So thank you for hanging for this short one. It was not very long today, but I appreciate it, and I'll see you on Friday.